Hey cheese lovers, ever stood in the grocery aisle, completely overwhelmed by the wall of cheese? You see cheddar, Swiss, American slices, cheese spreads, and you wonder, what's the real deal here? What's real cheese, and what's, well, something else? Today, we're demystifying the cheese aisle. We'll break down the difference between natural cheese and processed cheese products, and I'll give you some pro tips on how to spot them so you can make the best choice for your taste buds and your health. Let's start with the OG, the star of the show, natural cheese. Think of delicious artisanal cheeses like a sharp cheddar, a creamy brie, or a nutty gruyere. Natural cheese is a simple, ancient food. It's made from just 4 basic ingredients: milk, salt, a starter culture which is good bacteria, and an enzyme called rennet. The process is a beautiful form of preservation. The milk is curdled, the liquid whey is separated from the solid curds, and then the curds are pressed and aged. That aging process is where the magic happens. It can last from a few weeks to several years. And it's what develops those complex, incredible flavors and textures we all love. From the crumbly texture of an aged Parmesan to the melt-in-your-mouth goodness of a fresh mozzarella, it's all about the quality of the milk and the craftsmanship of the cheesemaker. The key takeaway here is that natural cheese is a whole food, made from a simple, clean list of ingredients. Now, let's talk about the other side of the coin, processed cheese. The name itself gives you a hint. This isn't cheese in its natural state. Processed cheese was invented in the early 20th century with a specific goal: to create a cheese product with a longer shelf life, a lower cost, and a consistent, predictable melt. Think of those perfectly square, individually wrapped American cheese slices. How do they get that way? Well, it starts with real cheese, often a mix of scraps or less than perfect batches of cheddar or Colby. This cheese is ground up and then melted down with a bunch of other ingredients. This is where things get complicated. Emulsifiers like sodium citrate or potassium phosphate are added. These are salts that prevent the fats and proteins from separating when the cheese is heated, which is why processed cheese melts so smoothly and uniformly without getting greasy or stringy. It's an engineered melt, but it doesn't stop there. Other ingredients are often added to the mix, like extra milk fat, whey, water, salt, food coloring to give it that familiar orange hue, and preservatives to make it last 4 months in your fridge. Because of all these additions, the final product can sometimes contain as little as 51% actual cheese. The rest is a cocktail of additives. This is why it is legally called a processed cheese product or cheese food in many places, not just cheese. The flavor is generally very mild, salty and one-dimensional compared to the complex notes you'd find in a natural cheese. It's designed for consistency, not character. So, you're in the store. How do you tell them apart? It's easier than you think. Your first clue is the name. Look at the packaging. Does it say cheese? Or does it say pasteurized process, cheese product, cheese food, cheese spread, or cheese slices? The word process is your biggest red flag. If it has a qualifier like that, it's not 100% natural cheese. Next, check the ingredient list. This is the most reliable method. A natural cheese, like a block of cheddar, will have a very short list: milk, salt, enzymes, cheese cultures. That's it. Now, pick up a package of those bright orange slices. You'll see a much longer list. You'll find things like whey, milk, protein, concentrate, sodium citrate, calcium phosphate, and maybe even sorbic acid as a preservative. If the ingredient list looks more like a science experiment than a recipe, you're holding a processed cheese product. The location in the store can also be a hint. Natural cheeses are typically found in the refrigerated deli section, often sold in blocks, wedges, or wheels. You'll find the artisanal and imported cheeses here. Processed cheese products, on the other hand, are often in the main dairy aisle, right next to the butter and milk, and some highly processed shelf-stable versions, like cheese in a can or certain cheese sauces, don't even need to be refrigerated until they're opened. Another giveaway is the price. Because natural cheese is made with more milk and often involves a lengthy aging process, it's generally more expensive. Processed cheese uses less actual cheese and is mass-produced for efficiency, making it a much cheaper option. Finally, look at the form factor. Individually wrapped slices, squeezable tubes, aerosol cans — these are hallmarks of processed cheese, engineered for ultimate convenience. Now, does this mean processed cheese is bad and you should never eat it? Not necessarily. It has its place. Let's be honest, nothing melts on a burger or in a grilled cheese sandwich quite like a slice of American cheese. That perfect, gooey, creamy melt is what it was designed for. It's a comfort food staple for many people. It's also budget-friendly and convenient for families. The key is to know what you're eating. You're not eating a block of aged cheddar. You're eating a product engineered for a specific purpose. When you're looking for flavor, complexity, and nutritional value, natural cheese is the winner, hands down. It's a fantastic source of protein and calcium. And cheeses made from the milk of grass-fed cows can also be a good source of healthy fats and vitamins. Because of its intense flavor, you often don't need to use as much to feel satisfied. A few crumbles of a real blue cheese on a salad or a thin slice of a sharp provolone on a sandwich can pack a huge punch of flavor. So, let's recap the key differences. Natural cheese is a whole food made from milk, salt, cultures, and rennet. Processed cheese is a product made from cheese plus a list of additives like emulsifiers, oils, and preservatives. You can identify them by checking the product name on the label, reading the ingredient list, and looking at the price and packaging. Natural cheese is all about flavor, tradition, and simple ingredients. Processed cheese is all about consistency, shelf life, and that perfect melt. The next time you're at the grocery store, take an extra minute in the cheese aisle. Look at the labels. Decide what you're in the mood for. Do you want the complex, nutty flavor of a real Swiss cheese for your charcuterie board? Or do you just want that classic, gooey melt for your mac and cheese? There's no right or wrong answer, but now you can make an informed choice. You are now an empowered cheese consumer. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this helps you navigate the wonderful world of cheese with more confidence. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more food deep dives. Let me know in the comments what your favorite type of cheese is, natural or processed. I won't judge. See you in the next video. Most people never notice these words because they're not designed to be noticed. They're often printed in small type on the back or side of the package, while the front proudly says made with real cheese or good source of calcium. Those statements can be technically true while still hiding the bigger picture. Shredded cheese is where this becomes especially visible. If you take a block of cheese and shred it at home, it clumps together. That's normal. In the store, shredded cheese never clumps. That's because it's treated with anti-kicking agents. Cellulose is the most common. It's derived from plant fiber, often wood pulp, and it's there to keep the shreds separate and free-flowing. This fact has been public for years, but many people still react with surprise because no one thinks to associate cheese with additives like that. Brands like Sahangtu, Kraft, and many supermarket private labels all use some form of anti-caking agent in their shredded products. The difference isn't the presence of cellulose. It's how much, and whether the buyer understands what they're trading for convenience. Another misleading area is cheese slices that look identical across brands. Sliced cheddar from one brand might be nothing more than thinly cut real cheese. From another brand, it might be a processed cheese product, engineered for melt and shelf stability. They can sit inches apart in the same refrigerated case with nearly identical pricing and behave completely differently in your kitchen. This is why so many people think they don't like cheese anymore. The flavor feels flatter, the texture feels rubbier, it doesn't brown the same way. The oil separates differently, and instead of questioning the product, they blame their taste, their oven, or even their age. In reality, the product itself changed. Parmesan-style cheeses deserve special attention because they're one of the biggest traps in the US. If a package says Parmigiano Reggiano, it must be the real thing imported from Italy and produced under strict rules. Brands like Belgioioso or certain imported wheels at Costco fall into this category. But if it just says Parmesan, the rules are completely different. Shelf-stable grated Parmesan, like the familiar green canisters, can contain a blend of cheeses, anti-caking agents, and flavor additives. The taste is designed to be consistent and mild. It's easy to sprinkle and lasts a long time. But it's not equivalent to a wedge of aged Parmigiano Reggiano, even though the names sound close enough to confuse most buyers. Mozzarella is another area where labels hide big differences. Fresh mozzarella, low-moisture mozzarella, part-skim mozzarella, and processed mozzarella-style products all behave differently. Pizza cheese blends often contain added starches and oils to improve melt and stretch. That's why some supermarket mozzarella barely browns while others release water or oil in unexpected ways. When people say, cheese doesn't melt like it used to, this is usually why. They're not buying the same category they think they are. Many of these changes weren't made to deceive. They were made to meet demand. Consumers wanted longer shelf life, lower prices, consistent melting, and convenience. Manufacturers delivered exactly that. But over time, the gap between what people think they're buying and what they're actually buying widened. The real cost shows up when you look at value. A cheaper processed product often requires more of it to get the same flavor. A higher quality cheese, even if it costs more upfront, is used more sparingly. The price per pound can be misleading if you don't consider how the product performs. This is why two cheeses with the same price tag can feel wildly different at home. One disappears into the dish, the other dominates it. One stretches and browns naturally, the other melts into a uniform layer. Neither is inherently wrong, but they're not interchangeable. Here's something worth doing the next time you're in the store. Pick up two cheese packages that look similar. Don't look at the front. Turn them over and compare the ingredient lists. Count how many ingredients there are. Look for words like emulsifier, modified food starch, or cellulose. That simple habit changes how you buy permanently. And if this is already shifting how you see the cheese, I'll hit the like button. It helps more people see this and tells the algorithm that clear, practical breakdowns like this are worth recommending. The goal isn't to turn you into a label detective or make grocery shopping exhausting. It's the opposite. Once you understand a few basic signals, buying cheese becomes simpler again. You stop guessing, you stop paying for appearances, and you start choosing intentionally based on what you actually want the cheese to do. The first signal is ingredient length. This sounds obvious, but it's the most reliable shortcut. When you pick up a block of cheddar from a brand like Cabot Tillamook or a straightforward store brand that lists milk, cultures, salt, and enzymes, you're dealing with a product that hasn't been stretched beyond its original form. The moment that list grows longer, you're no longer buying just cheese. You're buying a formulation. They ever felt like the cheese you bought didn't taste or melt the way you expected? You're not imagining it. Let us talk about the silent changes in our cheese aisle and how to spot what you're really buying in just a few seconds. First, let's be clear, processed isn't always a bad word. It's about purpose. Need that perfect, predictable melt for a grilled cheese. A processed slice might actually be your best friend. But if you're after flavor, browning, and a more complex texture, a simpler, more traditional cheese is the way to go. The real mistake is expecting one to act like the other. So, how do you tell them apart? The first signal is the format. Big blocks of cheese are usually your safest bet. Slices are a mixed bag. Some are just sliced cheese. Others are cheese product. Shredded cheese, though convenient, almost always contains anti-caking agents like potato starch or cellulose to stop it from clumping. You're paying for convenience and getting extra ingredients. Once you know that, you can decide if the trade-off is worth it, and grated cheese in a shaker can. That's where value often disappears. A wedge of real Parmigiano Reggiano costs more up front, but its intense flavor means you use less, and it lasts way longer. It's not gourmet snobbery, it's just good math. The next signal is the wording on the package. Phrases like "made with real cheese" or "natural flavor" are designed to make you feel good, not to inform you. Look for the legally required, less flashy terms, usually in smaller print. Words like pasteurized processed cheese, cheese food, or cheese product tell you exactly what you're getting, even if the giant friendly letters on the front are trying to tell a different story. Another clue is how it behaves when you cook it. Real cheese melts, but it can also separate a bit. You might see some oil release that's totally normal. Highly processed cheese is engineered to melt into a smooth, uniform sauce because, well, that's its job. When people say real cheese doesn't melt right, they often mean it doesn't melt like the processed cheese they grew up with. It's not a flaw, just a fundamental difference. Signal number 4 is its placement in the store. In most supermarkets, the most heavily processed cheese products are right at eye level. That's prime real estate, where the highest margin items go. The simpler cheeses, they're often on the lower shelves, up high, or in a separate refrigerated case. It's not a conspiracy, it's just smart retail. This is also why store-brand cheeses can be a hidden gem. A block of store-brand cheddar with a short ingredient list often outperforms a pricier, heavily marketed option. But here's the most important part. Context matters. Not every dish needs the best cheese. Sometimes you need perfect melt. Other times you want sharp flavor or a cheesy stretch. The problem starts when we expect one product to do everything, an expectation created by marketing, not by the realities of cooking. This whole thing with cheese is a perfect example of a bigger trend. We were taught to trust the front of the package and ignore the back. That might have worked when food was simpler, but it doesn't work anymore. Once you see this pattern with cheese, you'll start noticing it everywhere else in the grocery store. So, if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. Stop buying cheese on autopilot. Just for a moment, pick it up, flip it over, and read the ingredient list. It takes 10 seconds, and it will permanently change how you shop and how you spend your money. If you've ever felt that food just doesn't taste like it used to, or that brands you once trusted have changed, you're right. You're just noticing something most of us were never taught to see. The goal isn't to eat perfectly or stress over every label. It's about understanding what you're actually buying, so you can make choices that work for you. If this helped you see cheese a little differently, hit that subscribe button. We break down the quiet changes in everyday food so you can shop with clarity. And if there's another food you've been wondering about, drop it in the comments below. Thanks for watching.